So, first I want to welcome everyone to CID's State of Your Airport 2024. We appreciate you all taking the time to come out and hear a little bit about the airport and learn about some of the airport's plans and new initiatives that we are working on with many of our partners, and many of them are here in the room today. We are especially thankful for today's guest speaker, who I will introduce later as part of the program, is going to feature Allegiant Air, which is celebrating their 20th year of nonstop service here at CID in Eastern Iowa. So we have a full agenda. We're going to get right after it. So it's my pleasure to introduce Cedar Rapids Mayor Tiffany O'Donnell.
Thank you so much. I know that applause is for Marty, right? Pretty amazing guy. Thank you so much, Marty. I appreciate that. And welcome, everybody. Does that sound familiar to flyers into the CID airport? For those of you who don't know, I welcome people officially over the intercom. So officially welcome to today's big event. Since becoming mayor, I've had certainly the good fortune to participate in many exciting announcements coming out of this airport. So on behalf of my fellow city council colleagues who are here today, Scott Olson and Scott Overland, I want to thank the Airport Commission as well as the CID team for all the work you do, not just today, but if those of you in this world know, if you're not thinking about it 5 or 10 years ago, it's not going to happen. It's your vision, it's Marty's vision, and it's those of us who are along for the ride to support him to get this done. So thank you. What great representation we have today. The entire region is here today. So I know representatives from Hiawatha. Where are you? Hiawatha, I see you. Marion is here. Hey Marion, Team Marion there. And partners in the southern as well, southern end of the corridor tour. Mayor Teague, do I see you here somewhere? Mayor, good to see you. Any other mayors here good to see you all. Thank you. We all rely on this airport, so we appreciate your support and collaboration. And to all of you who are here today, we all play a key role in making CID the great destination that it is. We know that in order to grow our airport, we must use our airport. So we need to always look to CID for work as well as leisure travel. And speaking of leisure travel, we want to thank our guests from Allegiant. I told them I'm flying them in a couple days, who are here today. We truly appreciate that you are here today in person, but also the investment that you've put into our airport. We really appreciate all of the nonstop opportunities we have thanks to your hard work. So we look forward to many more years of this partnership. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Mayor. And one of the important roles the Mayor and the City Council have is appointing our Airport Commission, that are 5 volunteer members who serve as a policy-making body for the airport. We are blessed at CID to have a very nimble form of governance, which allows the airport team to make decisions in a timely manner and providing the guidance and support we need and the region truly expects. Let's see if I'm getting this clicker right. There they are. So there's the commissioners. The commissioners are David Newsma, Dwayne Smith. We have 3 commissioners here today. Barry Boyer, the retired CEO of Van Meter, Kirkwood Community College President Christy Fisher, and Robin Thurm, President of Sitco Medical Solution out of Coralville. Robin will provide a few remarks on behalf of the commission.
Thank you, and thank you, Marty, and a warm welcome to everyone joining us today. As a relatively new member of the CID Commission, I've quickly learned an airport encompasses far more than just my arrival and my departure, as well as all of yours. It's about ongoing street and facility improvements, sustainability initiatives, air cargo operations, and agricultural management, among other critical elements. I've also learned you can actually pass through TSA and board an airplane without an ID, but that's a story for another day. Representing the Southern region, I am honored to serve as an ambassador for the greater Iowa City area, proudly declaring CID as our airport. Today, I'm glad to see so many familiar faces from our Southern communities here. Your presence underscores the vital role CID plays in our businesses, our workforce, and our daily lives. Lastly, I want to extend our sincere appreciation to the partners at Allegiant who are with us here today. Your collaboration is invaluable, and we look forward to achieving even greater success together in the years ahead. On behalf of the CID Airport Commission, thank you once again for being here and for your ongoing support of CID.
Thank you, Robin. Really appreciate the ID reminding me. That was me. I showed up to the airport for the regional fly-in to DC without my ID. So it's possible to travel without your ID. You get a little extra special attention at TSA, but I was able to make it. Interestingly enough, you can fly through the National Transportation System without an ID, but you cannot go to an FAA meeting in person without an ID. So this numbskull had to zoom into the meeting with the FAA Associate Administrator while the rest of the region attended. So things happen. So, but anyway, back to Robin. Thank you, Robin, for those remarks. And Robin is one of our newest commissioners, and Robin's insights have been extremely valuable. Having a commissioner from the southern end of the corridor is essential in representing the broader region of which CID serves. And for those who may have heard me speak recently, we've been adding a slide to the slide deck of why Eastern Iowa is great. And while I have several items that I usually click through talking about the region and what a tremendous place we get to live in, and I stole that, I have to give credit to Nate Kading. He actually has a top 10 reasons why Iowa is better than California, Nate having spent several years in San Diego. So thank you, Nate, for allowing me to steal that. But no slide today, but I do want to highlight for our out-of-town visitors, Iowa and especially Eastern Iowa benefited by the positive press and the wildly successful and entertaining Iowa women's basketball program this past year, as well as the well-deserved attention to Caitlin Clark. I think we need to take that spotlight, take that pride, and transfer it to our everyday lives. This region is absolutely great. The region has great talent and people. Unlike many places, this region is a place where you, as an individual, can make a difference by simple engagement. So plug in and you can make a difference. Very few places can do that or say that. One of the newest ways CID is working to make a difference is where you're sitting at today. And I want to thank Signature for allowing us to kind of invade their space for this event. Typically, there's lots of aircraft parked in here, so thank you to Signature for vacating this hangar and allowing us to use it. And if you came to the event in 2022, you were also in a Signature's hangar. You may have noticed that today we're in a slightly different facility, much improved, more modern building, and a bright, shiny new hangar. The Commission built this new fixed-based operator for Signature's use. And if you didn't get a chance to tour the facility earlier, I strongly encourage you to walk around after the program. Also, there is an amazing conference room upstairs, so if you're looking for an off-site location for a meeting, by all means contact Signature and they can help you set that up. I would caution you, the view is spectacular, so I'm not sure how productive it's going to be because you're going to be chasing squirrels as the airplanes fly, but super cool, and it's available for off-site meetings. I also want to give a shout out to Larson Construction out of Independence, Iowa. They served as the general contractor on this project. I believe there are several members from the Larson team here today. If you could raise your hand, just a quick round of thank you very much for a job well done. So thank you. And this facility is important to the airport growth to have a fixed-based operator called an FBO on the west side of the airport in our specific case. This allows the space that we need at the terminal for future growth and continue to deconflict cargo and general aviation activity from that of the commercial passenger terminal. The FBO is also another gateway for our region. This is the facility that business decision makers utilize. These are the folks that are coming into our community and our region that are adding jobs and bringing an expanded investment. So it's absolutely essential that this facility and the service exceed their expectations the moment that they arrive. It is also a facility for private aircraft operators that are flying in to take in a concert in Cedar Rapids or maybe an Iowa Hawkeye game. And it is also where most of the University of Iowa athletic teams fly in and out of. It's also the Big Ten opponents fly in too. We're proud to say that we now have the best FBO facility in the entire Big Ten. I would also like to point out we have some neon lights on the ramp side, so when the opposing teams come in, we can light up the facility in Hawkeye gold and let the teams know they've arrived in Hawkeye country. We talked about pink bathrooms, but we thought that might be a stretch. We'll leave that to the university. But while this project is finished, our 4-phase terminal modernization project that began in 2014 is nearing the end with completion the spring of 2025. Most of you have flown through CID and have seen the improvements made. If you haven't, I need to talk to you afterwards for a little pep talk and reminder about flying local. But by the turnout, people are really supporting the airport, and I can't thank you enough. This 4th and final phase of the terminal will mean 13 total gates, additional hold rooms, a sensory room, additional pet relief area, and a large, beautiful patio with a full view of the runways. So you'll be able to sit and enjoy the outdoors, have a beverage, have something to eat. And I want to remind everybody to, when you come through and have something to eat, please round up your concession purchases. Those dollars go to Wings to Water, a 501c3 nonprofit, and they turn around and grant those dollars to agencies around Eastern Iowa and across the state that are making difference in Iowa's water quality issues. So please round up. Phase 4, when Phase 4 is complete, rest assured, we're going to have a party, and you're all going to get an invitation, and we'll get to take in the outdoors on the deck. So I want to also thank Rennernick Associates and their team for taking us to the finish line on a terminal project. I believe members of Rennernick are here. A quick show of hands. I'd just like to say thank you. Thank you all. And for contractors working in the terminal environment is quite complicated. We have to stay open. We're a 24/7 facility and build around while we have active operations. And Rennernick has just been doing a great job. So we're very fortunate to have such fantastic local contractors. I also want to thank the design team of Foth Engineers and Mead & Hunt Architects. I believe there's some Foth and Mead & Hunt folks here as well. If you could raise your hands, just give you a quick thank you. So thank you. So combined, the FBO and Phase 4 of the terminal represent $75 million of infrastructure investment, all going to local contractors, something that we are very proud of. And while having a beautiful modern FBO and terminal with customer amenities is important, we have accomplished these projects with 0 bonds and 0 local tax dollars. We are very proud to say we're one of the few airports in the country that have no debt. June 2015, the airport had a bond burning party. We had s'mores and we roasted the last of our bonds, and we've been debt free since 2015. So specific to the terminal, the Commission planned the project in phases, which enabled us to pay as we go. And when we had the pandemic, we were able to stop construction when our traffic dropped 97%. And we waited until passenger volumes returned and it was financially feasible for us to continue. When the work began on the terminal in 2014, so a decade ago, we as a region embarked upon this modernization program. At that time, the estimated project cost was $50 million. all in, all 4 phases. Due to inflation, various cost increases, COVID issues, many of us have experienced all those things, updated passenger forecasts, which indicated future need for additional space. Costs on the facility grew to $120 million. Again, that's being done with no bonds and no local tax dollars. Very impressive. I've been at several airports in my career. The commission form of governance is fantastic. Their eye on fiscal stewardship is very keen, and we have a crack financial team. We are very grateful for the grant funding from the state of Iowa, as well as the Federal Aviation Administration. We want to thank Governor Reynolds. We also want to thank our federal delegation, Senators Grassley, Senator Ernst, Representative Hinson, Representative Miller-Meeks, Representative Nunn, and Representative Feenstra, all who played a role in helping us secure various grant funding to invest here locally and put local contractors to work. I believe some of the representatives or the staff are here. Just raise your hand quick. Just want to say thank you for all of your work. And most importantly, we really need to thank all of you for choosing CID. Without your strong support, we simply do not exist as a commercial service airport. I think I'm supposed to do. There we go. Sorry. So 2023 for us was a record passenger year with 1.4 million passengers going through our doors. And today, our passenger traffic is up 10% year to date. So we continue to have double-digit growth despite record years last year. And the airlines are noticing. They've continued to invest in the CID. As of third quarter of this year, our seats are up 14% over third quarter 2023. A lot of people ask how the air service works and have their specific city that they'd like to see service to, and how do we add dots to the map? Well, honestly, it's real simple. It starts with strong local support and a healthy regional economy, which all ultimately leads to butts and seats. If we're not using it as a region, it makes it incredibly difficult for us to go talk to the carriers about adding service. So it's vitally important we continue to use and fly local, no different than shopping local and shopping Main Street. In 2023, again, just a fantastic year for us. Unheard of, we were able to announce 3 new nonstop cities, starting with American Airlines service to Washington Reagan National Airport, DCA. Just to put that in perspective, that conversation was roughly a 20-year effort going on before I got here. DCA, being a slot-restricted airport, is not the easiest nut to crack. So thank you for the community for helping us with that. They also added seasonal service to Miami. And a huge shout out to Allegiant Airlines for adding yet another nonstop leisure destination. And in 2023, they added Fort Lauderdale to the mix, bringing the total nonstop destination on Allegiant Airlines to 9. More on Allegiant here later in the program. So with the changing landscape and how airlines are serving markets, we are seeing larger aircraft at CID. No longer do we see the 50-seat regional jet making the bulk of our air service portfolio. We are seeing more narrow-body aircraft carrying upwards of 200 passengers at a crack. So what does that mean for CID? Well, in part, it means we have to future-proof the airport and future-proof the airport for the region. And what does future-proof kind of mean, and what are the questions we often hear? Is one of the things we often hear, is, when are you building a parking deck? So I'm not here to announce that we're going to start a parking deck. Just to put that in perspective, it's approximately $50,000 a stall to build a parking deck. So when Iowans are ready for $35 a day parking, we'll start digging the holes for the parking deck. So we do offer a valet experience that provides covered deck parking. I know Dr. Sagers is a frequent user. But I am here to assure you that, yes, we do have a plan for a parking deck and more to come on that. However, in order to maintain our fiscal responsibility, the parking deck will not likely occur for about another decade. There are, however, several enabling projects that include the parking deck. Some of those projects have started, and I'll click through just a couple of slides. So, yeah, there's one. So each of those phases, our numbers represent a phase of construction, with the parking deck somewhere phase 5. That's sitting in the middle of that diagram. I would point out, you'll see Wright Brothers Boulevard has been moved out to the north, and we add a couple of roundabouts. So pretty exciting stuff. So that it shouldn't be a surprise. We did have a city conversation, so hopefully Cedar Rapids, you're not surprised by those roundabouts on your road. But we got a lot of work to do in order to pull off the deck. All of these improvements are predicated on continued growth in regional continuing to use CID. And always remember that CID has a strong history of these projects going to local contractors. Planning for parking and other improvements is one part of our mission. Another area of focus is to fill the aviation workforce pipeline. As you will hear during our panel discussion, aviation education, mechanics, pilots, and aviation management are getting traction here and are finding a home at CID. The vision to grow the campus of the airport, the vision to grow the aviation campus along with the airport is ambitious, but aviation is an Eastern Iowa origin story. We thought a video might be the best way to walk you through what that vision is going to look like. So I'll try to talk you through it. Here's the roundabout, one of the two roundabouts. This is coming up Arthur Collins as you approach the terminal. Off to the right, you'll see the future cell phone waiting lot. We have outgrown our current cell phone lot, and that will become part of the aviation campus. You'll see we're having a particularly busy day at CID, and the cell phone waiting lot is quite busy. As we come towards the terminal, we're going to kind of turn to the right and gain a little altitude. Then we'll hit pause, and I'll kind of point out a few things that you're looking at. First and foremost is the white buildings are existing facilities. The darker gray are vision facilities. So they do not exist today, but are part of the broader vision. So you'll see Kirkwood and Co College come into view. Yeah, if you could back up just a touch. Sorry. There you go. Thank you. So what you see with Kirkwood and Co, that begins to show that aviation campus that we're talking about, where the two agencies can really work together. If you want to come and be a mechanic and you decide, well, geez, I really want to be a pilot, I thought I wanted to be a mechanic, they can cross-populate each other. The dark gray hangars that are around those two facilities allow for future growth of both programs, again, as demand dictates. Off on the top of the screen in kind of the center, kind of right below public safety, you'll see a large gray hangar. That area of property is an area we call Track 7. That area, and you can start the video again, we will be opening to shovel-ready aviation industrial park development at the end of next spring. So that building there represents, an opportunity of possibly an MRO, a maintenance, repair, and overhaul type facility. That facility, although a large, aggressive approach, is capable of housing 6 Airbuses or 6 737 simultaneously. The goal is to take our fantastic graduates and have family-sustaining jobs immediately across the street in Track 7, which today is part of our overall farming operation. So more to come on that in the future, but what are we up to now? We've got the workforce going. This video just provides a bit of a glimpse of what we look to do. So make no mistake, parking, road improvements, aviation workforce development campus, these are major endeavors. The forward momentum is dependent on continued growth at CID. But without a vision, there is no destination. Speaking of destination, this is not a one-person band at CID. CID has one heck of a team working 24/7, 365 days a year to pull all this off. That goes from finance to operations, public safety, marketing, business development, IT, guest services, maintenance, you name it. We're here 24/7, keeping this place humming for the region. So thank you to the team CID. So we often ask ourselves now, what kind of airport do we want to be? We know that CID is a premier airport in eastern Iowa and beyond. Speaking of beyond, kind of a fun fact, 38% of Iowa's population is within 90 minutes of CID. That's over 1.3 million people. That is a higher, no other Iowa airport, let me repeat that, and this is for Allegiant, no other Iowa airport can come close to that percentage. CID is the gateway to eastern Iowa in the border regions of Wisconsin and Illinois. The map that's in front of you right now is a heat map of where our traffic comes from. So part of our success is Allegiant. And it's my pleasure to introduce our next speaker. And they've been just a key partner in overall success. In fact, this month is a special anniversary for CID in eastern Iowa. On June 24th, so just a few days away, we will be celebrating 20 years of service when Allegiant Airlines showed up with new low-fare service to to Las Vegas. Since that inaugural flight, millions of people have taken Allegiant flights into and out of CID. It was the first true low-cost carrier that entered the CID market. And to say it changed air service landscape at CID is a massive understatement. In the past 20 years, Allegiant has added nonstop service to most of the popular leisure destinations with low-fare service. And now Allegiant offers nonstop flights to 9 destinations, including mini markets that are seasonal. We are absolutely honored and thrilled to have as our guest speaker today, Kristen Schilling-Gonzalez, Allegiant's Vice President of Planning. Let's give Kristen a huge Eastern Iowa welcome.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm very honored to be invited to the state of your airport. Okay, fingers crossed that I got this working. Okay, so like Marty said, I'm Kristen. I lead up our planning, revenue, operations management teams at Allegiant, and I could quite literally talk about Allegiant for days. I've been here about 12 years, so I'll try and keep it about 10 minutes. And just some background on Allegiant. If you haven't flown us before, hopefully you'll give us a try out of here at CID. If you have flown us before, I hope you had a great trip to one of your favorite vacation destinations, nonstop, low fares, all that. So I want to touch on a few things today. First, how is Allegiant different than some other carriers out there in this industry? Second, how important Cedar Rapids is to Allegiant as a part of our network. And 3, how my team and I think about growth in the future. Like Marty said, we didn't compare notes beforehand. I probably should have, but I'm going to highlight a lot of the stuff he said too. So cool. So like I said, we're an ultra low-cost carrier, or ULCC. It means that we follow the demand. We're flying when people want to fly. There are lots of other airlines throughout the country that have different models, and that's fantastic. Since we're flying nonstop, we don't necessarily have the ability to connect passengers through a hub. That means that many of our routes operate less than daily. And again, we're flying when our customers want to fly. So you'll see a lot of our routes are on Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, going out and then coming back in on Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So that's perfect for that long weekend in Las Vegas, perfect for that week-long trip to Florida. Because of this model, we're able to serve some smaller cities, meaning that there's no nonstop competition on about 75% of our routes, and I'll come back to that in a couple minutes. Still, we're able to fly all narrow-body aircraft, Our fleet is made up of Airbus A319s and A320s, so they hold about 177 seats each. We've also ordered some new planes from Boeing, the 737 MAX. They'll be about the same size, and we're looking to expand our fleet from about 125 aircraft to over 200 later this decade. And with our growth plans, we determined, does it make more sense to fly more to the routes that we currently serve, those 9 that Marty mentioned, or does it make sense for new routes, new opportunities? So I'll talk a little bit more on that on the next slide, and about how Cedar Rapids is so important. So overall, we serve 124 cities in the U.S., and specifically from CID, we fly to 9 cities, or 9 routes. And it's been pretty steady growth over that past 20 years that Marty mentioned. That's led us to never fully cancel a route that we've announced out of CID. Some routes become seasonal, but it's still, this is a really big thing for us. You're one of about 18 airports in our network, so one of a few that's done so well. But honestly, as a network planner, it's kind of a failure to me. And I know it sounds silly, but we haven't tried hard enough if we're not failing. So if we're not testing the boundaries, seeing what the limits are, we're not finding everything out there. So I see this as a really positive thing, that there's so much more opportunity for us to grow out of eastern Iowa. And along with that, the airport and community have been such great partners in supporting and utilizing the service. So a couple facts about our size here at CID. We've flown over 3.3 million passengers in the 20 years that Allegiant served here. And you might think, oh, that doesn't sound like that much. But for comparison, that is the state of Iowa, essentially. Like 3.5 million, 3 million. If everybody from Iowa came through here, that'd be about how many people we've served. So I think that's a lot. For 2024, we're scheduled to carry about 18% of the seats in this market, putting us at the 3rd largest airline here. And we've grown to 33 weekly flights in the peak seasons, like spring break and summer, which is really a true testament to Eastern Iowa's love of low fares and affordable service. And like Marty mentioned, the number one question I get is, how can we add more dots to the map? How can we bring more passengers into the airport? So I've got a couple of metrics that my team and I consider when we're looking at adding capacity. So I think of capacity as either adding new dots to the map, new routes, and I've got that on the left side, or adding additional frequencies to the routes that you already know and love. So maybe an extra flight to Las Vegas on the right side. Let me start on the left. In a nutshell, it's all about demand. We find that geography plays a huge part here, and Cedar Rapids is so well located where we can fly to Florida, add more routes there, or to the West Coast, and it's within our aircraft and cruise capabilities. I also think about demand from a repeatability standpoint. We're focusing more on where do folks already travel and how can we encourage them to fly more often with convenient nonstop service and low fares. My next item there is special events. You might think that everything I just said goes against special events, but I really see that as complementary. So thinking of maybe there's one weekend where the Hawkeyes are playing somewhere that could grow into a full season in time. We'd love to try those things out. And my next item here is competition, and I want to expand on that for just a second, because when I'm saying competition, I don't necessarily mean other airlines. Because at the end of the day, yeah, we're the only nonstop carrier on 75% of our routes, but we're offering affordable leisure vacations. So what else might people spend their money on if they're not going on vacation? They've got a week off, maybe you're spending it binge watching something on Netflix, in which case competition's probably the couch. Or maybe you're building a deck in your backyard with that money. Okay, well then we're up against Home Depot, I guess. Though, if we do look at other airlines, we're also not just looking at the nonstop options. We know that there's plenty of options where you might choose to go through Chicago because that flight's on a day or a time that works better for you. And I'm a little bit biased, but I do think that Allegiant's affordable nonstop flights are the best value out there. But still, we're aware that there's other options out there too. And if we're looking at additional frequencies on existing routes, so the right side of this, we're looking at a lot of the same things I just mentioned, but because we have some of our own data on this, we can also look at the individual flight level, thinking of what was the load factor? How full was that flight? Or the yield? How much did our passengers spend on their airfare on the hotel, bags, seats, car rental. And let me stress this very much. Just because the planes are full does not mean it was profitable. I get that a lot, so it really takes both sides of that equation. And since we have our own data, we can also see how seasonality is played into our flights. So for instance, we fly from here to Los Angeles in the summer. Right now the season ends in mid-August. Maybe in the future it makes sense to look into, can we go through Labor Day? Can we go through the fall? And again, the best way of doing that is, the more you fly us, the more we can see what that looks like. The last thing on the list, I've got opportunity cost. And we're constantly evaluating our network decisions to work within our constraints. Those constraints primarily being demand, aircraft, and crews. And it might sound counterintuitive, but there's times where you're short on aircraft, something has to give. You cut the least profitable flying, even if it is outright profitable. It's such an incredibly frustrating exercise that we try and prepare for in advance, but just these are things that we think through. So again, just some of the items we look at. Hopefully it gives you a little bit of insight into how my team and I really see the world. Marty, Pam, Todd, the whole team here at CID continue to be such great advocates for growth here. And again, the number one way you can help is by flying more. So as we look into the future, let me just highlight a couple of recent things that we've done. We recently signed a new contract with our flight attendants. So they're seeing pay raises of about 25% along with improved duty rigs, 401k matching. That second picture there, we recently opened our Sunseeker Resort in Southwest Florida in late 2023. It just hit the 6-month mark of operations. I was fortunate enough to actually stay there last week. It's a beautiful property, highly recommended. Back on the airline side, we've transitioned over to Navitaire for our reservation system, and there's still so many benefits to unlock out of there. Previously, we were running an in-house built system, but here we've got pricing enhancements, future international flights, lots of opportunities. And lastly, again, that order for Boeing 737 MAXs. We've got an order for up to 130 of them. First ones are still doing test flights up in Washington State, but we're expecting about 6 of them on property by the end of this year. So in closing, we're looking forward to getting back to growing alongside CID and hope you'll keep flying us out of here. It's just so wonderful to have such support. Thank you for a great 20 years, and hopefully you'll have me back in another 20 years. Thank you so much.
So before you jump off the stage here, on behalf of CID and the Airport Commission and the region, we wanted to say thank you. And we had this wonderful plaque at the airport put together for Allegiant to celebrate our 20 years of partnership.
Oh, nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So next, we'll talk a little bit about workforce and what's going on with workforce development. So many of you, as we're partners here, are taking the stage, and this will be we'll figure this out. So many of you have heard me probably talk in the past or the airport about some of our workforce challenges in the industry from pilots to mechanics. And we're very excited. Give applause for business there. We're very excited with our partners behind me that we're embarking upon a very exciting opportunity to really develop aviation workforce and become part of that pipeline of talent all happening right here at CID. And again, and I mentioned it earlier, aviation is an Eastern Iowa origin story that we seek to capitalize on. A few years ago at this same event, we talked a little bit about dominoes, and at that time it was state aviation sales tax and workforce. And with many, many people in the room and across the state, I'm very happy to report the dominoes have fallen into place. The next third domino for us is all about that Track 7 and the 40 acres of shovel-ready property we talked about earlier. The goal is to really attract those aviation business opportunities to right here to Eastern Iowa and put the quality workforce that we're producing to work in our backyard. These companies we believe will complement the existing aviation businesses that make up Eastern Iowa and continue to grow Iowa's aviation origin story. So it's my pleasure to introduce the panelists kind of behind me. So President David Hayes with Coe College, President Christy Fisher with Kirkwood Community College, and then College Community Superintendent Doug Wheeler. So thank you all for joining us. We're going to do a bit of a panel. We will have some time for Q&A at the end. There should be cards on your table. If you want to write out a question, there's pens and cards on the table. We'll have folks that grab them, and then we'll certainly ask those as we move through the program. So this question is for all three, and we'll start with President Fisher. So historically, aviation programs have not been part of any of the education institutions. I'd like each of you to discuss a bit about your college or school district's program. President Fisher.
I'm going to check, is this on? Aviation maintenance was a new program under the leadership of Lori Sundberg, and that started in fall of 2023, and it was really part of the vision that Marty brought to the region, and it wouldn't have been possible without the partnership with CID. It's a 5-semester program, and we have talented faculty who teach students how to understand aircraft so that they can both maintain and replace critical parts, whether that be landing gear, engine, electronics. It's all really important stuff for all of us who travel. And I always appreciate visual. So I want to point out our table over here of our outstanding, I see them looking around, I'm talking about you guys, the faculty and the students. The program is all about these folks, so you guys just give a wave, and I'd suggest afterwards, I didn't know we had that many tables, so that's awesome. If you want to talk to some impressive students and faculty, please grab them after the event. But they moved out here in January after spending the first semester on campus, and they are thriving and learning and really enjoying being out here at CID. The other thing I would just talk about is we're continuing to look at opportunities. I know the faculty and leadership are looking at can we include avionics in our existing program? We have Jasmine's workforce team looking at whether or not air traffic control training might be something that we can do here. So we're really excited to be here and to help grow the ecosystem.
First of all, thank you for having K-12 education involved in this panel. As you know, we have all of the students and all of the potential future workforce in the area. And over the last couple of years, College Community School District, we're better known as Cedar Rapids Prairie, in case you're wondering where we are. We sit about a half mile that direction. We've really been working on pathways because we know that our students need to be exposed to all the opportunities that they have within industries, and it's very difficult for students to dream about something they've never seen. And with Iowa, we have so many skilled areas that try to explain what your job is to a 5-year-old or to a 10-year-old. And they don't know that those opportunities exist out there. And we feel it's our responsibility to create pathways into our institutions for things that are relevant to our local community. I'm a lifetime Iowan, and I always like to say that, education, K-12 education, is the largest part of the state's budget. It is an economic development tool. And if we send students after 13 years of investing in them to other states to work, then that's something that we need to correct. We need to keep them here locally. And for us, aviation, we're going to be launching a program after the following year using a program called Discover Aerospace for education mechanics to expose our students to that. And our goal really is to make it impossible for Christy not to take all of our students into that program because they do have limited space at Kirkwood. But we do believe it's important, especially with our proximity to the airport. It's just really exciting to be involved in this process and looking forward also to the new opportunities coming from Coe College to send our students to that.
So I'll talk a little bit about that new opportunity. I would like to first start by thanking CID and the Airport Commission for allowing us to share the stage I'd also want to echo what Marty said. We've learned at CO that this really is a dynamic team out at CID, and where we're at today with our program would not have been possible without Marty's leadership and all the good people who put on this event, as well as make sure we get in and out of here safely when we fly through the airport. Similarly, I'd like to acknowledge the CO team, many of whom are here today. We took this program from ideation to releasing it into the wild in a very short period of time. And it's possible only because of many of the folks that are sitting over here at our table. So I'd appreciate you all if you'd give them a bit of a thanks and recognition as well. So the program at CO will combine two components. First, there will be an aviation management concentration within the STED Department of Business Administration and Economics. We've had a very strong record of producing top-rate business and econ and accounting professionals at CO for many, many decades. When this is fully built and accredited, we're still in the process of taking those steps. We will not only grant a student a BA in the aviation management side of the house, but a student will also be able to complete their pilot's training through a commercial pilot program. It's called a Part 141 program that's accredited through the federal government. The reason you would do both of those is multifold. First, you want to be a college student. You want to be a part of all that a place like CO College can offer you in terms of a life experience and learning beyond the classroom. Second, you do get that BA. You have that major to fall back on. Some pilots develop health issues. They get knocked out of the cockpit. This gives you a fallback career. Also, you might be more interested in the management or logistics side of aviation, and this would provide you with a career pathway outside of the flight school. And finally, there are some real benefits to the pilots who complete both a BA and formal training, not the least of which is their number of flight hours are reduced from 1,500 to 1,000 if they complete the BA as a part of the program. For what it costs to be in a plane, earning those hours, that's a substantial savings in terms of what they have to invest to get their license. And the other reason that we think CO can do this in a particularly compelling fashion is we can connect you to everything we have cooking within Cedar Rapids as well as our national alumni. Students who come to CO, we like to say our connections become their connections. We have the Center for Creativity, Careers, and Community, which is the front door of CO, both for you all to come to us to find our students and give them internships, jobs, etc., and for them to all come find you. So we think combining the academic component with a strong flight school is a pretty cool opportunity for people who want to get their training right here and then stay in Cedar Rapids.
Thank you. Thank you, the three of you. And next question, President Fisher. We last held this event, 22. We spoke about Kirkwood starting an aviation maintenance program at that time. In fall of 23 was the first class. I understand 23 students. And I personally have heard so many positive comments about the new program. But from you and your team's perspective, what has the response been, not only regionally, but from a broader aviation and industry perspective?
Usually starting a new program, it's a challenge.